Kia ora, happy Friday, and it's live time. Interesting week, busy week. So we've had Orca in the harbour at Wellington the last couple of days. We've had level 3 lockdown and storms in Auckland. And for me, we've had the continuation, I guess, of a lot of online content, as is the way of the world at the moment, which has been great in that I've been connecting with lots of people all over the world who I wouldn't normally connect with, have this content not have been online. So that's been awesome. We've had week 3 this week of the Imposter Syndrome online course on Monday. We've got our last one next week. We've had a couple of webinars as well. I did a webinar with my good friend Maya in Auckland around imposter syndrome. So much engagement on that and questions. This topic resonates so much. And we also had our free Leadership for Women webinar this week. And that's what I wanted to talk about because I've been reflecting on that, some of the questions we asked, the exercises we did, the conversations that came from that webinar. Something I always ask people to do when we're thinking leadership is right at the front, think about leaders who have inspired us. Now, these might be leaders in the media, they might be leaders we've worked with in the past and would work with again in a heartbeat. And when you ask the question, what is it about these people that makes them great? What traits and personality and character traits do these people have that make them great as leaders? More often than not, we'll talk about them being good at their job and the competence piece, but that normally comes quite far down the list. When people start putting in their comments and their thoughts, the things that rank top are generally empathy. I can trust them. They support me. They challenge me, but they've always got my back. And the relationship piece, the emotional intelligence. And I talk quite a bit about the role of emotional intelligence in leadership. And I think this is particularly important for women because so often it's the kind of skills that we've been taught to devalue over time. It's the kind of thing we think to ourselves, yeah, I know I'm good where empathy is concerned, but I kind of feel like I need to be more assertive to hold my own in the boardroom. And that's because of our years and years of conditioning and the role models we've had in the leadership space over the last few decades. But just in this decade, that's begun to shift and begun to change. And we are now seeing emotional intelligence as one of the key leadership skills. And that's backed by, when we think about our own leadership experience with leaders, why we want to work for the leaders that we do. And the role of things like empathy, trust, good communication, the ability to manage conflict, resilience, the ability to motivate yourself, self-awareness, all of that stuff that comes with EQ or emotional intelligence. And there's a study I often refer to when I'm talking about this because it really shows how this can be so prevalent in so many women. And that's a study that was done quite a while ago by Korn Ferry Hay Group. They surveyed 55,000 people across 90 countries, and they used 12 emotional intelligence competencies across gender. And what they found over those 55,000 people in 90 countries was that women outperformed men in 11 of those 12 competencies. So this is something that inherently we have as a strength. And I know when I was researching for the Superwoman Survival Guide, one of the questions I asked was, what's your superpower? The number one answer was empathy. Empathy is something we value in others, but it's something we often devalue in ourselves. So if you've got it, use it. It will be your secret weapon, and it is such a big leadership skill to have, to build your relationships, to manage conflict, to communicate, the awareness, all of that stuff that we know is important. So while we're on the subject of leadership, the Women in Leadership program is open, has been open for the last couple of weeks now. The early bird is actually expiring at the end of next week. So if you're thinking of getting onto that program, there is only 10 spaces. It's Wellington CBD based, 2nd of October. I'll pop the link in the live. You will get $300 off if you get in before the early bird closes at the end of next week. Talking of career, exciting news about the next book because that's what it's going to be based on, and it's about to start to take form. So I'm taking myself off as of Sunday for the whole week to the lovely Wairarapa, where I can be away in the countryside, away from the office, nothing in my diary. Apart from, for those of you that might be worried, we have our last session of our Imposter Syndrome online course on Monday night. Obviously, I will still be there for that. Otherwise, no appointments in the diary next week, and I will be busy writing. I've set myself a challenge, 10,000 words a day. Not really too hung up at this stage on the quality of those words. It's just getting them out of my head and onto paper. And the book is about how to love your job, i.e. align your strengths and values to the work you do every day and find meaning and purpose in what you do, or how to find a new one. And so I'm excited to be finally getting this out of my head onto paper. And it's something I often get asked, how do you write a book? This is number 4, and I guess every single one has been different. So I was lucky enough with the first to be traveling the world at the time, so that got wrote in yoga ashrams. It got wrote when I was stuck in Bali after the Nepal earthquake. It got wrote in a lot of different fabulous places. And the second book, I think it was, actually got wrote while I was doing a contract. So I had a full-time job, and I would get up at 6 a.m. every morning and write 1,000 words before I went off to work. All very different. So this is another new technique that I'm trying, and I find that by getting away from the office and from the distractions of life, I can really focus. It helps my creative brain, and I can really focus on getting stuff on paper. And then hopefully what I bring back is a half-baked book for me to edit and work on over the next few months. So keep an eye out for that. And you'll probably see less of me next week because I will be away in the Wairarapa writing. The weather doesn't look great, which is great for writing, means I'll have to stay inside. There'll be nothing else for me to do. So I will let you know this time next week how that's gone and the progress. Otherwise, have a fabulous weekend, everybody, and mā te wā.